Are we live?
We're live! We're live! Oh, we're live all over the world. Well, we're on StreamYard, but we're live like on LinkedIn, on my profile, because LinkedIn only allows us to stream on one profile. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's stupid. Anyway,
Yeah.
not stupid. I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's awesome. I wish they'd let us stream on more than one profile, because then we could be on your profile, we could be on social
No,
profile, we could be all over the place.
I could be popular.
You could, well, you're popular. Come on.
Am I though?
Your star is rising. Your star is rising.
It is. I am a shooting star.
Yeah. But we are live on Facebook, on my profile, and Social
On YouTube.
on
Yeah.
YouTube, on our group on Facebook. Now we're all over the place.
We're all over the place.
Now, for anybody tuning in, we're actually on StreamYard. We're not on any of those places, but StreamYard allows us to stream to all those places. And a lot of times it's hard to see. Like if you put a comment in there, I think it's only pulling Facebook comments. I don't think it's pulling LinkedIn comments. So if you comment and we don't get back to you right away, I'm sorry about that. But we don't see it because we're on StreamYard, so we can be in more places than one.
And we're new to this too, so
We're getting seasoned.
we are. We're getting there.
Hey,
I'm
Mindy,
starting to look forward to it each week.
I wore this so I could show you my favorite new golf shirt. My buddy Chris Dimmer got me this golf shirt. These are little Wisconsins.
Wisconsin
Green and gold, like the Packers, right? Kind of smells like cheese,
Wisconsin.
but that's because I've worn it a couple times.
Smells like cheese.
Thrown it in the garage. Okay,
Well,
anyway,
that's why the nickname is Cheezel.
if we keep up this goofy conversation, we won't have any viewers.
I don't
Right?
know. I think we're pretty cool together. I mean, I'd tune in.
I'd tune in. All right, today though we're talking about
LinkedIn events.
webinars and seminars. LinkedIn events will be a big part of that.
Yeah.
But as important as LinkedIn events is building the right email list too, and we'll talk about ways to do that. Mindy, I've been in this industry longer than you have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what people used to build their business on?
Oh gosh, probably the same way I built my mortgage business was knocking on doors, picking up phones.
Cold calls and seminars. Cold calls and seminars, right? Now, cold calling, I think, is all but dead. I'm sure there are advisors that will tell you definitely, I still cold call. And I think, wow, you could be doing a lot of fun stuff and not cold calling.
Yeah.
There's better, easier ways to make it happen today. But seminars are not dead. They're just done a little differently.
They are.
Right? You know, there's companies out there that charge advisors $8,000 to $10,000 to market a seminar.
Yes, there are.
Mm-hmm. We won't mention any names because we like the people at those companies.
Right.
And we know some of them, and some of the people we know them. So I don't want to throw any names out there. But do you know when they do that? The business model escapes me a little bit. When you pay $8,000 to $10,000 to market or to deliver a seminar as an advisor, that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're delivering a seminar to someone else's network. So your only access, and I don't even think they market it under your name, they market it under their name.
Yeah, I think so.
So you're not getting all that brand exposure with the marketing for $8,000 to $10,000. Someone's at the door. Live. What are you doing?
Welcome to live.
So we pay the $8,000 to $10,000, and then you're marketing to their network. You're not marketing to your network, right? So your exposure is really the 25 people in that room, and we all know, right? Plate lickers.
Yeah.
We all know 50% of the people in that room are there for the chicken or the steak, right? So you're really talking to about 12, 15 people.
I'll take the chicken.
Well, sure. Depends on where the seminar is, I would guess. But when you're doing that, you're marketing to someone else's network. What you get for that $8,000 to $10,000, you get the 3 or 4 meetings that you're able to book.
Yeah,
that's it. Like you don't get the added exposure in the marketing, right? You might probably, if people sign in, I imagine you get those 25 email addresses, but those are expensive email addresses.
And you have to do the follow-up typically yourself.
You got to do the follow-up. So anyway, there's my whole point being there's a better way, right? So most advisory practices 20 years ago were built on cold calling and seminars. Again, seminars still viable, but you got to do it the right way. Now, we're live, and I hate for this to have happened this way, but I'm going to exit for about 5 seconds to shut this door. Okay. So, yeah. What do you want to talk? Talk about the Bills.
Talk about the Bills. Go Bills, because football season's in gear. I just got my fantasy draft today. I feel like I'm talking to no one, but everyone at the same time. So just a heads up, I got 3rd pick in my fantasy draft. I'm so super, super excited.
I'm 7th.
Haha.
It's okay. Now, webinars, right? So seminars and webinars, there's a better way to market your seminar. There's a better way to market your webinar. First off, same system that company uses in building their network that they then market to on your dollars, right? You can build that same system for yourself.
Yes.
Right. But the first step, as we always talk about, the first step is understanding who it is that you want to do business with.
Correct.
How important is picking a niche, Mindy?
Probably one of the most important aspects of marketing, period. It's the foundation for your house. And a niche, not everybody understands what a niche is, because some people come to me and think they have a niche, and it's more of a demographic. It's not a niche.
Target market, maybe.
Yeah.
Pre-retirees is not a niche.
No, that's a demographic.
Business owners isn't a niche,
No.
right? Maybe tech business owners.
Right. Or medical professionals that, run their own practice or something along. That's a niche.
Yeah, I think medical practices seem to be going less and less as doctors are working more and more for hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still certainly privately owned practices. And then you got to get narrow. So, dentists, anyway, so the more narrow you get, you remove competition. And when you do a seminar or a webinar or content marketing or email marketing or advertising, all of that content speaks directly to a very narrow niche. It sounds more personal, right? So your messaging starts to resonate with that particular niche. Biggest fear I see with advisors is, but my book is made up of other types of people. Well, sure it is.
Right.
You don't have to alienate those people and still choose a niche. Our client base happens to be about 90% advisors. Yeah. We've got about 10% that are not advisors, but all of our marketing goes into financial services. That's our niche. We get personal with that, right? So, so the importance of building a niche. Once you build a niche, now you got to build the network, right? So what we do is we add 7 to 10 new connections every day on LinkedIn and CRM for our clients. But there's other ways to do that, right? Gosh, we get all kinds of distractions on live. It's live. What do you do?
I know. I mean, I got people sitting here trying to join a Zoom with me right now.
Maybe later we can do that.
I'm live, people.
So you need to, second step, you choose that niche. Second step is you got to get in front of as many of those people as you possibly can. Our strategy puts you in front of 7 to 10 new people on LinkedIn every day. We tie that into your CRM, so we're able to pull their contact information into your CRM. But there's lots of ways to get in front of a network. That's not the only one, right? Advertising, right? Google and Facebook, demographic-based advertising. One issue with that is you see 6 to 10,000 ad impressions a day. Tough to cut through that noise. That's thunder, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, could you hear that? Because it is grumbling pretty hard here. Yeah.
If Katie Brayton were on, she'd tell us to download crisp.ai.
I have it.
I
don't have it on right now. I probably should have, but I don't have it on right now.
Okay, but that
I ran on my free trial.
Yeah. So you got to build this network. The only way to have your successful seminar and webinar is to make sure that you're building a network every single day. And if you're not working with a company like Social Advisors to do that for you, go on LinkedIn. Send 10, 15 invites a day.
Yeah.
You can run ads, though those demographic ads to strangers, that's kind of tough, right? We like retargeting ads better. That's a whole different conversation I don't want to get into right now. But if you work with manufacturers, join your local manufacturers association, right? There's associations around any professional group, right? If you work with local business owners, right? Join your chamber. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to build a network. For us, LinkedIn's the easiest way to do that, right? So that's the first thing. You got to build a huge network, right? That way, when you're running a seminar, you don't have to pay some other company $8,000 or $10,000 to market to their network.
Right.
You market to your own network. Now,
and it's your network. So
your
you can
network.
Take it with you. You can, for follow up, everything.
Yeah, they get to know you over the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Right.
Nurture and educate.
Yeah. So that's really important. Again, it's a popular company we're talking about, but I don't understand why people invest in that business model. And I don't want to bash anybody, so we'll leave the name out of it. It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't make sense. I just feel that there's a better way, a cheaper, easier way to do it than pay $8,000 to $10,000 to market an event.
But you have to put a concerted.
You have to have the right network too.
Network.
You have to have people to market to.
That's what you're buying into, is that network that they've built. So you could do that yourself. Now, seminars I love, webinars I love more. For the price of pulling off a seminar, getting your hotel, your nice, the nice location of your seminar, doing your mailers to an affluent area in your area, an affluent zip code in your area. I would say that if you had the right network, you could probably get rid of that mailer expense.
I mean, even just the event location and, setup and I understand why it's $8,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
I understand because it's in person, but I feel that you could actually replicate that virtually, especially since COVID hit. I mean, everybody's more open now these days to coming to a virtual event. Even if they just register for the event, maybe they don't attend, but there's a reason they've registered. So they're showing interest in the topic, that you're trying to put out there. To educate your audience, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to register for the event because they're looking for that follow-up. They want to watch it on their own time, their own accord, and if they have any questions, then they can reach out. It's non-threatening at that point, Yeah. So
I love that. So when we do a lot of webinars, people who are on this live stream. By the way, if you're here and you're making comments on LinkedIn and Facebook and places, we're actually streaming through a platform called StreamYard. So we don't see a lot of those comments. So we'll get back to you, after the fact. But if you're sending us messages and we're not replying, sorry, we're on StreamYard so that we can be in multiple locations at once. So we don't see a lot of those comments coming through. When we do a lot of webinars, and I do, probably people who are watching us right now recognize that because they see the marketing.
Right.
So we love email and LinkedIn events.
Emails and LinkedIn events are my 2 favorite. I mean, that's where we get most of our traction from, and as well.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about LinkedIn events a little bit, because you have a greater expertise on LinkedIn events than I do, for sure. You and your team run LinkedIn events all the time.
I mean, one of my favorite things about LinkedIn is it actually gives you the option now, which they didn't do before, but you actually get the option now to opt in to receive further communication right from that event, which is even better, so it complies with GDPR laws, and stuff like that. And then you can actually import those people right into your CRM for follow-up, for nurture, and just for your marketing efforts in general. They can register right on the event. They get notifications, reminders, and after the event is over, the best part about the whole thing on LinkedIn is the fact that you can do an export of the data of people who said that they, have opted in or registered for the event. And it gives you that tangible, kind of instant return because you have email addresses, first name, last name, and then you can send follow-up. So it's huge. It gains you exposure, not only with the network that you've grown on LinkedIn, so you can specifically target who you want to invite to this event. If you have multiple topics, and let's say this month you do an event that talks about, 401k, retirement planning. And then next month you have something offering CE credits to accountants. You have 2 different demographics, obviously, that you're going to be sending to. But, obviously that network that you have on LinkedIn, you can specifically send out invites. You get 1,000 a week, per event, or excuse me, per profile, not per event. But, we've seen huge success. And LinkedIn events has only gotten better, and they're constantly improving as well.
Let me unpack that a little bit. Number one, in order to be able to export lists of people who have given you the affirmative for your event, you have to run that event through your business profile on LinkedIn, not your personal profile.
The company page, yes.
Right. So that's important, because the reason that works is because your website, which has a privacy policy on it, is attached to your company page, but not your personal page.
Right.
So if you're going to set up an event, make sure you run that through your business page, not your personal page. You cannot do the export from your personal page.
No, you can't. You still have that collection of data, but you have to do it manually. It's not something where you can just export a little CSV file from it.
Yeah, cool. You said something else. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it was something else that I wanted to comment on for a little clarity. I'm sure it'll pop back up.
For LinkedIn events.
Let's talk about this, right? So
individual demographics that you can do invitations to.
You said 1,000 per profile. So when you run a LinkedIn event, for every admin profile for your business page, whether that's an outside marketing agency, whether that's multiple your team, for every person, you can send 1,000 invites to that particular event. One of the main things that I hear advisors say is, but what if nobody shows up? Believe me, when you're sending 1,000 invites, you're doing content marketing, people start to recognize your name, you send 1,000 invites, you're going to get a lot of people.
Somebody's going to show up. Yeah, exactly.
Show up. And if you get 2 people,
that's okay.
And well, they don't know it's only 2 people, right?
Right.
I'll tell a quick little story. I don't want to run too long with this thing, but I'll tell a quick little story. Stephen, whose last name I won't use.
Yeah.
Stephen ran his first webinar on a Friday. He and I, he had some questions about the webinar. First off, Stephen, don't ever do it on a Friday again.
He knows now.
Yeah, he knows now. But, before the webinar, he said, Charlie, can you hop on? I want some tips. It was his first webinar. So we hopped on in the morning, gave him some tips, did the webinar, and then we actually had a scheduled call in the afternoon. So my first question was, Stephen, how was that webinar? He was not happy.
No.
He did it on a Friday, had a lot of registrations, but he only had 3 people show up.
Yeah.
So when you go there and there's only 3 people there, remember, they can't see each other. They don't know there's only 3 people there. So you still perform like it's a coliseum of people, like put the energy up, and then they're going to, so they're going to believe it's a larger audience. And that's good because it's a credibility thing for you. Mm-hmm. I don't know who chatted with Stephen, like by that next Wednesday, one of those 3 had become a client.
Yep.
Right. So even if there's only 3 people there,
doesn't matter.
There's 3 people who are interested, which brings us to the next point. A webinar is certainly an educational event. A seminar is certainly an educational event. From our perspective as business developers and marketers, it's a measuring tool.
Yes.
Right. If you're adding 7 to 10 people to your network every single day, and let's say you're targeting medical professionals, right? And you're adding 7 to 10 medical professionals to your network every day. Maybe they reside only on LinkedIn. Maybe you're savvy and you're importing those people into your CRM, right? 7 to 10 people every day. That's 250 people a month, right? Mm-hmm. How do you know who's ready for a further conversation? If they didn't raise their hand and say, oh, yes, let's get on your calendar. I want to talk to you today, even though we're just a brand new connection on LinkedIn. I really don't know you, right? How do you figure out who in that growing network, 4 months in, that's 1,000 people. Right. How do you know who to follow up with? It's difficult.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of measurable experience.
Got to measure. And of course, we push lead scoring and platforms that do lead scoring.
Right. But not everybody has that capability right now,
Exactly, right. Your webinar becomes your measuring tool.
Right.
Over 4 months, you got 1,000 new people you're talking to on LinkedIn with every content post. And, when you do a webinar, I love the education you provide. That's what they're there for. But if you got 5 people out of that 1,000 that show up, and that's a low number, but if you got 5 people out of the 1,000 show up, that's 5 people that are saying, Mindy Klink, I'm following you. I'm listening, right? I have a need. That's how you decide out of those 1,000 people. Those people are saying, yes, let's talk.
Right.
Right. And so I think even more than the education, because we can get a lot of that education through a Google search, even more than the education, I think the importance of a webinar is a measuring tool.
Yeah, measuring tool, I would say, is absolutely number one. And the other thing that it also builds is your trust factor, your credibility. You being able to actually speak to the topic, answer questions, that they may have that maybe somebody else has not even asked before, to enlighten them.
Yeah. So I don't know how we go on about webinars and seminars, frankly. But the importance is LinkedIn events. The other thing that I highly encourage you to do is start building an email list.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, network alone. I mean, I tell people when they come on board with social advisors, the first thing, the foundation for the house that we're getting ready to build is your targeting. If your targeting in your niche is not on, then everything else that we do here or you do for your marketing efforts means nothing.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. So that's the biggest key, is to figure out that niche, start building that network, then you want to educate them. And that's how you do it with, either a webinar or a seminar.
Over the last 9 years, we've built an opt-in email list of almost 50,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Strictly through, I mean, it's insane what we've accomplished over the last 3 years.
An opt-in email list of almost 50,000 people. They have come through LinkedIn. They've come through opt-in, on lead mag. They've come through webinar attendance, whatever it is. Event attendance, in-person event attendance. So we've built that in a variety of ways. Now, not all those people are active. In fact, we just put an active list together of just a little more than 19,000.
Yeah.
So of those 50,000 people, only 40% really are paying attention. Like the other 60% isn't paying attention to us. We don't send them emails anymore as a result. Right. So we only really key in on that 40% or so that are paying attention to us. But when we're doing a webinar, 30% of our registrations come through email.
Yeah, usually.
Right. And the other 70% come directly from LinkedIn events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
and then another point too, just speaking back to the LinkedIn events, it is so key and for you to have a speaker. Typically when I see better results from LinkedIn webinars, seminars, when you have guest speakers or you have a panel, of experts or influencers that actually can speak to what you're talking to, just to build that trust factor as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that too for two reasons, right? So we've got this big network that we nurture every day, every week, every month. It's really cool to bring somebody from the outside that has perspective on what we do or perspective on what they do to bring added value. Now, if anybody follows Tom Poland, you'll be familiar with OPN, Other People's Network. The other benefit of bringing somebody on as a guest, well, there's several benefits, and that's not me talking.
There's lots of benefits, yeah.
When I'm alone, it just feels like I'm out there sales pitching, right? But when I've got there's some back and forth. But when they market that event, they're getting Social Advisor's name in front of the network they built. Right. So we're bringing added value to our network. We're also bringing our brand to their network. So that's pretty key.
And gain access to their network. So when you're sending out invites, you're broadening your horizons.
Yeah, exactly right. So, is that the last benefit of a webinar?
Well, it's pretty important.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to drone on about it, but really in quick recap, right? This is the coolest golf shirt I ever owned.
Oh my gosh, no, not really.
Thank you, Chris Timmer, for my Wisconsin shirt. Those are little Wisconsins. So Chris is out there. Thank you, Chris Timmer.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. But, get a niche. I know you've heard marketers say it over and over and over and over and over. Quit delaying, pick a niche. Do it. Number 2, get in front of that niche every single day. If we're not helping you add 7 to 10 people to that network every day, do it on your own. Don't work with anybody else. Work with us if you're going to work with somebody. If you're not working with somebody, do it on your own. But spend time into building that network every single day. Now, as you're doing your content marketing, as you're doing your email marketing, do a frequent webinar. It's inexpensive to do. We can help you market it. Of course, we get paid for that sort of thing. Or we can show you how to do it. It's not that. It's not that frankly, it's just a time investment. Do a webinar once a month, once every 6 weeks. And while the education you're providing and the content that comes out of that webinar is wonderful, the biggest thing that happens is if you're adding 250 people to your network every month, like we can do for you, you're figuring out who within that network is ready to talk business. It's a good measure. Right. So, Mindy, I feel like we've kicked this horse a couple times.
Yeah.
What do you think? Anything more you want to add before we say goodbye?
Go Bills. That's about it. I mean, really, I think we touched on all of the key points. Build your network, find your niche, make sure that you're educating them, enlightening them, posting, content.
Got a question before we close.
Okay, what's your question?
Have you ever brought a Buffalo Bill to show and tell?
Have I ever brought a Buffalo Bill to show and tell? No, I have not. Please tell me that is not you.
That is me. And a Packer player who was number 24 back in the day. He played on some very bad teams, but his name is Johnny Green. I brought him to show and tell for third grade.
Okay, I have a Buffalo. I'm bringing one to show and tell today.
Yeah.
His name is Billy Buffalo.
I'm sorry, Mindy.
It's my speaker.
I don't even know how that's on the same level.
Well, you asked if I brought a Buffalo.
Packer player to show and tell.
No, I haven't. No.
Johnny makes Charlie one.
I did. Oh my goodness! What a storyline! Wow, I did get to meet Daryl Green of the Redskins one time. I think I have it in the paper, but that's it.
Did you bring him to show and tell?
No.
All right.
I wasn't allowed to bring people to show and tell. Or animals.
All right. Listen, we've digressed into places that I'm sure don't interest a whole
We
lot.
went down a dark hole. Yes.
All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Again, we're on StreamYard, so any comments you made, I'm sorry, but they don't pop up here. So if you got pull at StreamYard, tell them we need comments to pop up here so we can respond to them. Mindy, thank you. If anybody has any questions about webinars, LinkedIn events, building an email list, picking a niche, you know where we're at.
Yep. Feel free to reach out till next week.
Later.